What do you do after you set your goal? What if you know what you need to do to get to your goal, but you aren't getting anything done? Today, I'm going to answer those questions and more as I talk about what you need to know, what you need to remember as you're looking at how to get things done. And I'll also talk about how I use my day planner. Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm, episode 244 with me, Tara Swiger. I know it's February and most people think about planning and planners and overhauling their habits and tracking things at the beginning of the year, but I'll be honest with you. This year, I did not even start to think about planning until after January 20th. Between the logistics of a new 2-year-old foster placement and all of the appointments that is involved, and the learning curve of parenting a toddler and trying to figure out our daily schedule, I have had no brain space to even think thoughts, let alone plan the future. And so when I started, once I had a couple hours to think about it, and I talked about it on Instagram, I'm at Tara Swiger over there if you want to follow me and chat with me about planning, I started to get questions that I really thought we should talk about here on the podcast. And these are questions I'm dealing with right now in my life as my whole work life and home life is completely different. So I thought, now let's talk about them. And the fact of the matter is, you might have started planning later in the year, or you might have set big goals for January and realize it's February and you're still not actually working on them. So let's talk about what you need to have in place in order to get done what you want to get done. Now, the real questions for most of us when it comes to productivity and planning is, how do I get done what I want to get done with the amount of time I have? In my experience, there's actually 3 parts of the process, and we don't always remember to do all 3 parts, and that's where the issues come up. So at least one part of the process probably comes pretty naturally to you. You don't even have to think a lot about it. And the other parts, maybe there's another or 2 parts that you just forget to do altogether, and you're frustrated. So maybe you are frustrated because you have a very clear vision about what you want to go, but when it comes to feeling like you're working on that clear vision day by day, it feels like the time is slipping past you, you're not doing it. Or you may be a pro at checking things off your list every day, but you do not feel clear about where you're going, or even that the things you're checking off your list are going to get you where you want to go. So what you need is to identify all 3 parts, and then where you are excelling and where you are not, where your system might be breaking down. So here are the 3 parts that go into planning. The first is to identify your destination. Where do you want to go? What are you doing all this for? If you just start planning your day or setting goals without a vision of the destination, it's going to be hard, and you'll probably change course a lot, and you won't feel like you've made much progress. So I see this a lot with people who are like, oh, I'm going to grow my Instagram this week. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff on Instagram this week. And this week I'm going to focus on production and sales. And then at the end of the year, they're like, I don't know what grew, what changed, where did I get to? Because they just went a bunch of different places. They just marked things off a list as opposed to working towards something. Or they create a business they don't actually like. So the clearer you are about where you want to go, the easier the setting a destination is going to be. But I don't want you to fret too much about it if you're not clear yet. Because here's the thing, our destinations change as we grow. The kind of business I thought I wanted when I started my first business in 2006 is not the same kind of business that I want today in 2018. Thank goodness it's not 2018. Oh my God, it's 2019. So 13 years have passed. I've changed a lot. My life has changed a lot in 13 years. I know more about myself. I also know more about business and what is involved. And even what I want from my business is not the same in 2019 as it was in 2016. So your destination is going to change. Don't be freaked out like you're setting your vision for all time, but spend some time getting clear on where you want to go so that you can decide what you need to do to get there. So you need to spend some time thinking about the aspects of where you want your year or your life or even just the next 3 months to go. What do you want to have more of? Where do you want to spend your time? How do you want to feel? So the first section of my book, Map Your Business, which looks like this, you can get it on Amazon, that's what it walks you through, is where you are right now and where you envision going over the course of your business. Now, the second step is to map out the steps to get closer to the destination. So what's in between you and where you want to go? The good news is you don't need to know all of the steps because nobody ever does know all the steps. You need to shrink down the destination into a smaller goal for the next 3 to 6 months, and map out the steps you'll need to do to get there, the point that's 3 to 6 months away. So that's actually the heart of my book, Map Your Business, is identifying that goal and breaking it down into steps. It actually has worksheets for you to do that 4 different times so that you can do that every single quarter of the year. Because here's the thing, a month into it, you're going to know some stuff. You're going to change. 3 months into working towards your goal, you might not have reached your goal, or you might have reached it in the first 6 weeks. You're going to change. You're going to want to make a new map with new to-dos as you learn more stuff about where you're going. So I hear from women every day who are using the book Map Your Business, and it's helping them get clear on where they want to go and where their business is. And I love hearing from you guys. You can tag me. I'm at Swiger on Instagram. Please share with me how you're using it. You can also just use the hashtag #MapYourBusiness to see how other people are doing it. It makes me really happy because the book isn't just about setting your goal. It actually walks you through identifying what you need to do to reach your goal, and all the mini goals, which I call mile markers, you're going to reach on your way there. And then you break it down into the tasks you need to complete. So this step 2 is not just setting a smaller goal, it's figuring out what are all the tasks that need to be done. And then when you're done mapping, you're going to have a big to-do list that can move you from where you are to where you want to go. And the important thing is you can't make any progress until you know specifically on the task level what you need to work on. Now, the third part of the process, lots of us just stop here. We have a big to-do list. Okay, let's go, which you can do, but you need to have the time and space in which to actually do the tasks. So this can be as free-flowing or as structured as you like. It is up to you. There's any number of ways to do this, but for many of the women that I talk to, this is a skip. They're skipping altogether. Like, they don't know when they're going to do it. They just have the list of things to do. So you may have done Map Your Business, and now you don't actually get the tasks done from your map because you don't have a set aside time to work on them. Now, the big thing to remember is this time and space you're setting aside and the way in which you do it will probably have to change as you grow and as your life changes. A lot of times we get a system that works for us. We have a planner that works for us, or we have work hours that work for us, and life changes up, and then our pockets of time are not there. They're not in the same place they used to be, or the way that we keep track of things, we're just not using it as much anymore. That's happened to me many times in the last decade or so of really like sitting down to plan my week each week. I will have a system and I will love it, and I will record podcast episodes about it or write blog posts about it years ago. And then eventually, and it works great, and it worked for me. And then eventually something shifts and it's not working for me. Maybe the projects that I'm working on are different, or my business model is different, and it's just the system I was using isn't working. So if you find the system that has been amazing for you just isn't amazing for you, it's okay. You're allowed to change it up. And I don't know why, but for me, that's one of the hardest parts. Like, I'll just keep thinking, I need to be better at writing this down here, or I need to be better at blah, blah, blah. No, just find a system that works better for you. So, for years, how I did this is I had the same set work day every week. The work, like the times that I would work, the pockets of time I had to work. And then I would just take my map to-do list and work down the list and check things off. Over time, I learned I work best when days have a specific focus, like Mondays for writing, and Tuesdays are podcast recording days, and Wednesdays were Starship Chat days, and Thursdays I did webinars. Like, just having that kind of overall theme helped me organize my tasks for the week in a way that I got things done. And Friday would be project days. Within those boundaries, I'd work on my list, like, that was related to the kind of day it was. But now my whole schedule has been blown up by a 2-year-old, so I'm rethinking how I do this, like, right now. That's what I'm in the process of doing, which is what got me thinking about talking about it with you. So I'm going to list some of the ways that people set aside time and space for this that is working for the women that I know and the women that I work with, and my friends. So some have set work hours and just work down the list during those hours. Super simple. Some have theme days, like I talked about, writing days, shipping days, production days. Others time block their schedule. So what you do is you look at what the blocks in your life are like, and you assign the blocks the kinds of tasks you'll do. And the main thing is you don't do things that aren't in that block at that time. So you just stop doing the task when the block is over. You don't let other things infiltrate it. So you may get your family out the door from 6 to 8 a.m. each morning. You may work out from 8 to 9. Then you work on your marketing and photography from 9 to 12, lunch 12 to 1, and then you do production work 1 to 3. That's time blocking. And by the way, it might just be that you have 2 hours a day to work. And that 2-hour time block, though, is just work. So another thing that sometimes people do is they pick a block of their day every day that's going to be, or 1 day a week, that's going to be appointments. So I only set doctors or vet appointments on specific days of the week. I only set one-on-ones with my essential oil customers. You get a one-on-one consultation with me after you get your oils. I only set that for a specific day, like a block during the week is when I do all of those. So that's time blocking. Your blocks can be tiny, like 15 minutes or 1 hour, depending on how you flow through your work, or they could be bigger. 3 hours is probably the max for your focus and attention that you want to put on one task. And then the women I know who do this say that what's great is when they're done with that block, they stop that task. So then if it's time to get your kids at 3 or 4, you're done with your work block. You're not trying to do both at the same time. You're not trying to make dinner and answer emails at the same time. Your email has a block of time. Your making dinner has a block of time, and you can be focused on what you're doing then. Another thing you can do is plan exactly when you'll do what tasks at the beginning of the week. So I worked with one artist who she scheduled everything on her calendar. So she had admin time, she had designing time, she had layout time, she had working with clients time, and so she time blocked, but then she each week went into her calendar, and every single task she had to do, she scheduled it on her calendar. I think she used Google Calendar. You can use a paper calendar for this. It kind of doesn't matter. All of these things can be both done online and in writing. I do both because I need to have it in front of me. Because it doesn't matter how you organize your time. It doesn't even matter how much time you have. What matters is, are you working on what matters to you and to your goals during the time that you have? And if you're not, then change it up. Like, pick something different. Do something different. Try a different system. You can't spend all of your time trying out new planners, but if you've been doing something for 6 months or 3 months, or you've been using no planner, try a planner. If you've been using Post-it notes, try a list. Like, change it up till you find what will keep you in the flow and keep what's important in front of you. Now, it's possible that you have one of the systems I mentioned in place, or maybe you have something totally different. If you have something totally different, I want you to come tell me on Instagram. I'm at Swiger. Come tell me how you set aside time and space. Do you just have work days and you work during the work days? Are you super specific? Do you time block? What do you do? You might have a system in place, and yet you still aren't working on what matters. Why is this? I found that most of us are dealing with one of the following issues, and I do all 3 of these at different times. One is we actually aren't working on what we plan to work on during the work allotted time. So we haven't actually, in reality, set aside the time and space to work on it. We call it work time, but we're doing other stuff. Maybe you're washing the dishes. Maybe you're taking phone calls, which I am guilty of doing from my family member and friends. Or maybe instead of taking photos for Instagram, you're scrolling Instagram. Or instead of writing that email newsletter, you got distracted looking at your email stats. That is okay. Don't beat yourself up. Recognize when you do that and plan to avoid that. Like, I will save the page of my email software that is just the writing page, that isn't the stat page. And then when I'm done writing it, if I still have time, I can go look at my stats, or I'll put a time to look at my stats on my calendar. Maybe you have a time at the end of your workday to scroll through Instagram if you find yourself doing it too much. Some people put that time first thing in their day so that they kind of get it out of their system. Whatever will work for you. There's no good or bad. Another problem that we fall into is we haven't actually written it down. We have in our head what we need to do, and then we keep getting distracted because it's hard to remember what we should be doing. And I honestly do not know how anyone keeps track of what to work on if they're not writing it down somewhere where they can see it. You can make it a pretty planner. You can use Asana and just keep Asana open. You can use a Post-it note. You can write it wherever you want to write it. But I've never met anyone who didn't need some way of keeping track written down somewhere of what to do next. And my best tip, if you find yourself not working on what you're supposed to be working on during your work time, write it down real quick. So the like best way to kind of pop out of unproductivity for me is to write down what are the 2 things I'm going to do next, and I start doing them immediately. Like, that's a rule, is when I realize I'm not working, I say, okay, what do I need to do next? I write it down. That might seem silly because you may have already written it down in your planner. It may also already be in Asana. I have people say that all the time, like, wait, you write down your list you already made earlier in the week? You write it down on today's date? Yeah, because I need to see it today. I need to not look at the 10 things to do. I need to look at the 2 things to do. Or if you do map making and you have a list of 50 things to do, don't look at your 50 things to do. Look at the 2 things you're going to do right now. The third thing is that we are not keeping track of all that you actually do. Many times I've talked to a business owner who is complaining that she never gets anything done, and then she tells me about her day, and I'm like, OMG, you are doing so much. You are getting so much done. You are so productive. They're like, no, I'm not productive. I never work on my business. But what it is that they're not counting what they are getting done. So if you are feeling super unproductive, but you are managing to get dressed and every day, then you're getting something done. So I want you to start writing down and planning time for all that you do, not just your business or not just the part of your business that's this newest goal, but everything else. Having it all written down in front of you can make you more realistic about the time you actually have to spend on your business or on your newest goal, and it will help you celebrate all you get done, right? So if you are running, like one of my listeners, you're running 6 kids to different events all afternoon, and you're running your business, and you have a new goal to release this product, make sure you're writing down all of the things that you're doing so you can see the real time you have to work on this new product. So if you are getting anything done, I want you to stop and celebrate it. Okay, that's why I did the episode on celebration just a couple weeks ago, because it is so important to continue going in your business for you to stop and celebrate all you're getting done. Hopefully today I hit on one of the problems that you're coming up against, or you've realized you're missing part of the 3-part process to actually doing what you want to do and working towards your goals. Let me know if you enjoyed it. If you want to learn more and you actually want to go deeper, as I was writing this episode, I realized, I talk about a lot more of this in my Creative Live class, How to Get More Done. I recorded it a couple years ago, super high quality video with this amazing workbook download for you to work through your own ideal workday, your own productivity tips, your own scheduling that will work for you. I hope you find the system that's going to work for you. It's 6 hours long, so if you like this, 6 hours more, with awesome bonuses and worksheets, and you find it all at tarswiger.com/time. So tarswiger.com/time. The class is called How to Get More Done. And if you want to see my own planner system and how I am adjusting to all the changes in my life, check out my YouTube channel. My Monday videos lately have been all about planners. I moved over to a new planner and system. I am doing a vlog on how the systems I've used in my life, because I really started using a paper planner in high school, and I think I have one still in my photo albums. I'm going to dig it up and share that with you, and how I used it then all the way into how I use it now. You find it all on tarswiger.com/YouTube, along with links to everything that I use and talk about over the years. I'll link up to past episodes about the planner systems I've used through the years. So you can be sure to subscribe over on YouTube if that's where you're watching, or in your podcast app if you're listening to the podcast episode, and give this video a thumbs up on YouTube, or if you're listening to the audio show, go leave a review on iTunes. That helps other people find it, and it means so much to me. Totally makes my day. So come tell me on Instagram how you plan, what part of the process you get stuck on, and kind of what gets in your way or what works really well for you. I'm at Tara Swiger over on Instagram. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you an enthusiastic, productive week.